Quiet on the set. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody. I'm Dear Myrtle, your friend in genealogy, not so retired, though I may be. Welcome to Mondays with Myrt, where we talk about things that have happened, come across our desks in the last 2 weeks since last we met. And let's see who's out there. Right off the bat, we've got Hillary from Wales, when we'll say, she says, don't forget to click the like. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate that. And Randy's here in the wings. Frank is here from Germany, kind of grayish and dry. We're grayish and moist, as I'm sure Jill will verify. Oh no, you're in Boston today. Oh, and it's raining there. Okay. Hillary says it's overcast. Let's see who else is here. Hi, Gwen, our de facto member at large, sunny and more sunny. And now we are looking at our friends from Norway. Hi, dark and wet. Yeah, it's that time of year. Hi, Bobby. Good to see you. Kathleen is here. And I love saying it's not boring if you live there, dear. And hi, Karen. Good to see you from Southern Oregon. All right. And hi, Valerie. 27 degrees with a wind chill. You know, this living in the winter northern hemisphere for you, it gets really chilly. Yeah, we're doing okay. I think we're about 53. Not entirely sure. Hi, Claire. Good to see you over there in Independence, Missouri. Sherry's here, and remember, she's got that little crescent wrench, which means she can tighten the rack if necessary, keeping you guys over there on the YouTube side in line. Hi, Barbara at Project Ken. Nice day in San Francisco Bay Area. Let's see what else we've got. So, Frank, you're saying that it's going to be about 42 to 8 degrees Fahrenheit. So you have a wind chill factor, or is it because it's possibly going to rain? I don't know. Yes. And Sherry says our current technology does not support live transcriptions. Yeah, no voice to text immediately, like you will see if I was doing this in Zoom. But in Zoom, I pay for the number of people that can attend. And it's very heavy on this side. And I live on an island, and so I use StreamYard because the StreamYard technology is cloud-based. So my bandwidth is all about getting the word out, not dealing with the technology to get the word out. And so from time to time, Sherry will remind our friends who wear hearing aids like old Myrt does, unless she's wearing her headset. If you need voice to text, she is sending it to you. These are all non-affiliate links that she's sending so that you can get the immediate translation. I prefer Ottery because it seems to do a better job, but I think you have to pay for it, like something, I don't know. But it seems to do a better job than Google Translate for voice to text. Just my opinion. Hi, Leslie. Gosh, we've got a lot of people checking in. Eventually, we're going to have so many people here. Hi, Bev. Oh my gosh, 80 degrees. I'm coming to visit, okay? It's all good. All right, let's get the panelists up here. So I don't want to do this alone. In fact, everybody knows old Myrt just likes to be an opinionated moderator. Thank you, Frank, for being my co-host today. Ellen's my timer. Hi, Jill. Randy is going to be the one to send you links. So thank you for doing that. And Hillary, I want you to rest on your laurels. You have a rather important job coming up, don't you? Yeah. We have Randy share the link to what we will be doing in in our Albion Seed study group, which happens 45 minutes after Mondays with Myrt. We are tackling a chapter from Albion Seed. And so these are the handouts for today. The first 4 pages are a repeat in case you didn't come last time. And it includes links to previous events and their handouts. So here it is on YouTube for last time we met. It was East Anglia to Massachusetts. This time we're going to be tackling the distressed cavaliers and indentured servants. And there is the link to get there. Let me copy that and send it to you all. Because it's a different StreamYard to YouTube, okay? And apparently I didn't copy the right thing. Let me copy the link. All right. There we go. So you're invited to do that. Book club starts. Look at what we're talking about. This is the official start of the handouts. And Hillary's the hostess of that, hostess with the mostest. And these are the pages of the handout, including additional information. Look at those citations. Christine talked about the connection to Barbados. Maria talks about this primal honor. Yeah. And yeah, pulling of the goose. Okay. And I talk about the system of primogeniture, which made the younger sons of wealthy baronial fathers in England, barons, and the aristocracy, because that system means that the oldest son gets everything in order to protect that land. So there's reasons why I have included this map of a typical plantation in Virginia. And then there's a discussion of indentured servants that goes beyond what Albion Seed talks about. And some information about for further reading. So I think you're going to want to see that or catch the recording. All right. So far, we've got an interesting thing here in the United States and actually throughout a number of countries throughout the world. There is a Remembrance Day, or in our case, we call it Veterans Day. Memorial Day in May is for those soldiers that have passed away in the line of duty. And Veterans Day is for all veterans, those who came home, those who are still serving, etc. So, so we're going to switch gears and talk about if we have military ancestors. And so let's see who we shall start with today. I'm going to take you first, Ellen, and tell me about it. I'm going to pull up your YouTube, okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So take it away. Start talking.
About 6 years ago, I created this video, and it's basically about my 3 great-grandfathers that fought in World War I. I didn't have any ancestors that fought in World War II. And I also included a first cousin twice removed because he was pretty special as well. So I made the video. I made it with Animoto, which is a site you can create videos pretty easily. They have a free version as well as paid. And I just talked about the 3 of them and how they participated in the World War I.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let me share my screen. I don't think I shared the music in the background. This is about 2 minutes and 48 seconds. Let's make it full screen, and we'll go ahead and play it. But don't. Are you doing a voiceover in this or just music?
It's just music, I think.
Okay, so let's see what she did. Animoto.
Yeah, Animoto. I use their music. And then I just
Okay.
wrote some facts
Mm-hmm.
and, you know, told about Vimy and Passchendaele.
Now I'm hearing the music. Is everybody else?
No,
Yeah, it's because I didn't flip a switch.
yeah, that's okay. But
It's
so I just put some
powerful.
facts, yeah, about how Canada participated, and you know how my family participated as well. And these are the three great grandfathers, and then on the left was Jesse Vincent, and so I put a thing about each of them and how they participated.
Yeah.
Interesting. After I posted this last night, I was thinking, why didn't the fourth great grandfather do it? But I looked today, and he was much older than the rest of them, and so he was, you know, exempt from having to go to war.
Yeah. I can't
So
imagine.
yeah,
19 years old.
yeah, and he has Jesse Vincent has such an amazing life, although it was very short. I don't know why he just always sticks with me. So he was shot, he was gassed, and he was in the hospital a good part of the time that he was there, and
Yeah.
then came home and he died of the Spanish flu.
Oh God.
I mean, he had such a harsh life. And then this is my great grandfather on my dad's side. I have some postcards that I still have that he sent from France. So yeah, it's amazing, you know, like they just left, and for the little pittance of whatever they could to send home to you know have family survive, you know, on their little bit of money.
Totally get that. This is a beautiful thing to watch. They subsisted on $15 to $30 a month, but it was a different time, wasn't it?
Well, yeah.
Okay, if you could find the link to the software program that you used, put it in the private chat and I'll send it out.
Okay.
It's a good thing you didn't hear the music because it was a lot louder than Ellen's voice, and I'd rather hear her voice. But it was very dramatic music, so it was very appropriate. From their collection of music, you picked the right stuff. So yeah. Okay, let's see who's next. Oh, I do see the link to Animoto.
Oh,
and you did put it there, and I will bring it right up and share the screen. So yeah, 1 second. And I always try to show the website, folks, for brand recognition so that you understand. Myrt will sacrifice her computer in defense of yours. I will not send you to bad, nefarious websites. So this is Animoto, and you can get started for free. And you use the free version, did you say?
I think at this time I'm actually paying for it. I don't use it anymore. I use Wondershare, and but it, you know, this is a good starter for sure.
Okay. So in the private chat, put Wondershare, and I'll bring it up if I can. All right. Let's see what we've got. So who's next? Frank, let's see. No, we did Ellen. Hillary, I'm going to pull up your Compton line on Wikitree, and you talk to me about that situation, and I will share my screen shortly.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Go ahead.
3 of my grandmother's brothers all signed up to fight in World War One.
Yeah.
This one is Ernest Roy. He's got a really interesting life because because he and my grandmother were orphaned at quite a young age, he ended up in an orphanage.
Mm-hmm.
And then he from there he was sent as a British home child over to Canada.
Oh, I remember him. Okay.
And when he was old enough, he returned to England, and he signed up. And originally I wasn't sure. I found somebody who I thought was him, and originally I wasn't sure whether it was him. And then I found one of the records, which was soldiers' effects, who who got the money that was owing to the soldier if they passed away. And he came up on that, and my grandmother came up as one of the people that was receiving money from his effects. So I knew
because
it was
he'd passed
her
away
brother.
while
Yeah.
in the service in Iraq. So
Yeah.
when I saw that, I thought it was a 19-year-old in Iraq, and of the current, of what we've lived through with the wars in Iraq. But this was in 1917. That it's just incredibly sad when these things happen.
Yeah, he was killed in action in there. So he was on the memorial over there. He's on the memorial there. Well, I'm not sure where the memorial is now because I know it got moved. But he's one of the people that's on that memorial.
So I just want to show some more about this gentleman, so that people know what a wiki page looks like. We can go directly to the sources of information about him. There's your citations, Find My Past, which has a great deal of, there's the Board of Trade Commercial and Statistical Department, which is who keeps the outward passenger list. And you've given us a transcription there and a link. And here's the Commonwealth Graves Commission. Let's see if we'll see that area. Okay, Microsoft is giving me a hard time. Okay. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
I've been able to sign into Microsoft for like 2 weeks, and it's a known issue with Windows 11, and it just means that my OneDrive isn't bugging me lately. But that's an aside.
Yeah.
So today we not only honor Ellen's ancestor, but we honor your ancestor as well.
Yeah.
And let's
His
see.
brother. Yeah, he's got a brother called Sydney, who died later the same year.
And did he die in the service or
he
just?
He died of wounds, serving in World War One. I've actually got a digital copy of a photocopy of a letter that he wrote to my grandmother.
Wow.
Before he died, and that. So my uncle's got the photocopy, and I scanned it, so I've got a scan of it. So he died out in France, and then his brother Walter, who was the eldest one, he died in the flu epidemic. He did sign up, but they decided that he wasn't going to make a very good soldier, so he got discharged. And then, as I say, he died in the flu epidemic, and his wife was expecting her youngest child, and the child wasn't born until after he died. So it's as I say, as I might have mentioned before, I only ever knew that my grandmother had one brother. I didn't know about these other three people until I started doing my research.
It's entire, a great percentage of entire generations pass away because of war, including my Civil War. Well, I didn't have anyone die in the Civil War, but a lot of the young fellows passed away. So it's very sad. Okay. Let's see who's next. I'll go look at our docket, which we maintain in Google Sheet. So thank you, Hillary. You were going to mention Frank. Frank,
Yes.
talk to me, okay? Talk to me a little bit. And I want to hear on the YouTube side the name of your ancestor and what time period he served or what war he served in, so that we can honor those ancestors as well. And I'm kind of glad we started with Ellen's Canadian ancestors and Hillary's. We tend to be US centric, and I try to think globally. So thanks to our two panelists for helping in that regard. Okay, so Frank, talk to me.
My both granddads, so from both sides, served in World War II. And luckily they did, because my grandma from my mother's side actually met her later husband while fleeing from Eastern Prussia, and they met while he was still enlisted.
Okay, so was he part of that eastward toward Russia movement?
We are still not sure, because this is a big problem. Researching military history, especially the World War II one, from the German point of view, is really hard to do, because a lot of the source material simply got lost, was burnt by the Nazis themselves, and so on. It's really hard to research, especially in the military history on my father's side, because we know that his party was enlisted under the SS. He wasn't part of the SS, but his party was enlisted under them. So it's really complicated to get anything there. It's very frustrating and takes a long time to research.
So you have information on this because it's in your family history.
It's in the family history, and I have, at least from my mother's side, the original photos of them in uniform.
Okay. Oh, well, that is a big clue.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Because you don't just automatically decide to do that, regardless of the conflict and which side you're on. So interesting. Well, thank you for explaining that, because one of the things I wanted to do was point out that Family Search, if you search on Family Search in the research wiki, let me pull it up. You can if you just search the wiki for military records, I'm going to demonstrate it. There's no other way to describe it. I'll share my link, and we will go to Family Search. I was amazed how they organized this, because for some reason, when I went to the research wiki, gotta sign in. All right, well, wait a minute while I do that. And I hear typing, so mute yourself if you're typing. Okay, so here we are. Here's the research wiki under search, research wiki, and it will come up. And normally we search for a locality, but I decided to search for topic military, MILIT, military records. So military. Okay, everybody's doing this two-part authentication kind of stuff. All right, so they do have, like, apparently I went to Swedish most recently, but let me go to the category so you can see what it looks like. That is not it. Here's German military records. Here's U.S. military records. Here's Italian, Portugal, France, England, and Scotland, Ireland, Mexico, Australia, Danish versus Denmark. That would be interesting. Brazil, Philippines, Indonesia. Let me zoom in. I mean, for heaven's sakes, did you know they had all this? And there's hundreds of pages of records, Indigenous people of the United States military records. You may not be aware of those. So you don't have to go to a country in question. You could just look for military records. Let's try it again this way. And somebody's sad. So here, you may need to mute yourself. This is the page I was looking for. This is an overview of military records. And these are just the general types of military records that you might find. Now, bounty land sounds pretty U.S. specific, but here is this military records by country category. Let me give you all this link. Oh, good. I'm seeing some comments coming in.
Give me a second.
Okay. 57 pages by country. Pakistani, Romania, St. Martin's military records, Ghana, Trinidad, Zimbabwe military records. Now, there may not be a ton of records that they've got, but what they've got are categorized on that one page to help you do what Frank can't do very readily since so many of the records have been lost. Okay.
Or deliberate destroyed.
Yes. I think I use the term lost loosely. It's just terrible. That's one of the things that that happens. Sometimes records are destroyed by the party in question to cover their tracks.
Yep.
Sometimes the invading army destroys records of many types in a locality because that disrupts the knowledge and the institutional knowledge, the cultural history, with documentation that's totally lost to the ages. So your ancestor's name was Herman Mueller.
Yep.
And Gwenny is saying she has quite a number of Revolutionary War ancestors. Wow. Okay, I want to hear from some more people about that. Very interesting. Okay, let me check the docket, see if there's anything else. By the way, I'm going to pull this up. The second, this is to follow through with what Ellen said. She was mentioning Wondershare. That's the new service that she uses to create videos in minutes. So it's always good to hear what another one of your genealogy friends uses to accomplish a task. And I think that a video
And theirs is a free service as well.
Oh, they have a free option. Good. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
I think that a video like that is more compelling than a PowerPoint. All right, let's see. So that answers Claire's question. She had said, what was the one you're using now? Okay. And so hello, MLD in Colorado. Preserved fish Dakin, what a name, served in the Rev War and received bounty land in Ohio where he created a new Quaker community. Very interesting. So we're honoring that ancestor as well. Okay. So Sherry tells us that she has, and she's out there on the YouTube side, she has 3 confirmed or proved to her satisfaction Revolutionary War, French and Indian War, and War of 1812 ancestors, and 8 plus, meaning she's probably still working on a case, on the U.S. Civil War, the other what sometimes referred to as the war between the states, and 2 cousins died in the flu epidemic during World War I on one of the bases. So thank you for that. I know you don't come on screen because you're so busy with those rabble rousers over there. And then this is a good comment from Barbara at Project Kin. She's been collecting stories about ancestors, where they were in the American Revolutionary War. And she uses they don't use a hashtag, it's just a tag, Stories 2050. And that is because 250th anniversary of the Revolutionary War is coming up in July. Yes, and all are welcome. So feel free to over on Substack, reach out to Barbara at Project Kin. Find out more. Do you want to? I don't think you can post a link on the YouTube side. Send it to me by instant messaging on Substack or something, and I'll pull it up. Okay. All right. I wanted to share something different in the way of documentation. I've only shown this once before. Let me pull up these records. This is the carded medical record file on my ancestor, William Henry Phillips, who served on the Union side. And at the National Archive in Washington, D.C., let me zoom in more on this. This is how they file them. Now, carded medical records are by definition where the War Department, and now those records are at the National Archives, Archives 1, in text format only. Textual reading room is where you need to pull these up, order them. The War Department, when they received a pension application file, they had to prove the guy's service, and they had to prove this if he was actually truly injured during the war, because at different times it affected whether or not he could receive a pension. Finally, by the time he was quite elderly, Congress had decided, let's just give them all a pension. But if he'd been injured early on and it was affecting his livelihood, he would receive a greater amount than just an ordinary pension. Well, in fact, the first ones were for deceased soldiers' families. And so carded medical records are where the War Department looked at the daily mustered rolls or monthly or whatever they could get to see if the guy was AWOL or if he was sent to the hospital. Every morning you'd have to be there at Reveille, and you would have to show up, and you could, if you were absent without leave, that was problematic. If you were sent on a detachment to go do something, that was okay. If you'd been sent to the hospital, these are the kind of records that you would be seeing. And this is not the actual hospital record. This is just a long slip of paper that's more or less an index summarizing a few little abstracts, that the guy's name, his unit, etc. So let me pull up another one. This was the request form, and I knew it was 19th Indiana Company K, and that it was William H. Phillips. And all of this other writing here, as far as a stack area, row, compartment, shelf, that was put there by the archivist. And they knew where to go in the great stacks in the private area at the National Archives. This was my name at the time, and this was my user ID number. And so the box got pulled up. You saw the box got pulled up, and then I would ask for the next available box. Now, we had some other interesting things, though. This is what the actual cards look like. And let me zoom in even more. Okay. All right. So these are two different cards, and they're not really cards like a 3x5 card has some thickness to it. These are just slips of paper, like typing paper. But they were pre-printed, and this text was filled in by the War Department employee who was checking the actual hospital records, or the U.S. General Hospital in Washington, D.C., or in this case, the regimental hospital, which would have been conceivably at the battlefield. There were several different hospitals. He had an intermittent complaint, which you'll see more details about, but it lets us know that the War Department did consider him to be as a private Company K, 19th of Indiana Volunteers Regiment. I can hear Mr. Myrt saying, Myrt, remember this, remember that. Okay. Sometimes they'll say what the remark, under remarks, they'll say the reasoning for it. And they're also, this is the actual citation of where they got it, what hospital record. And the record books, I did a Wacky Wednesday that showed the details of what those records, what the hospital books look like. They were just register books of any sort. And it was just kept, the pages were in chronological order of the clerk saw my ancestor. He had various problems. And so it was entered into the register, and it just was in date order. And
hey, Myrt.
Yes.
You might want to take down Project Kin's comment there, because we couldn't see the bottom of the left-hand slip very easily.
Oh, okay.
So
When I was saying this is where it had.
Whoops, somehow Deco Delight came up. Oh, there we go. Good. The other thing I'd like to add is that if you get a doctor's signature down at the bottom, it appears that these are copyists, and I'm not sure if that's quite the same thing. But if you get a medical card that has the doctor's signature on it, that doctor may have a journal. And that journal was to be filled in daily with each of the patients that they served.
Yes.
And so that might give you more information. That was a tip given to me by Craig Scott, was to always go, once you get the medical file, see if you can find the doctor's name.
Yeah, well, it's filed under those things that I'm talking about, where it says what the hospital is.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I've actually gone in and ordered the hospital book.
Okay.
And the person who wrote in the book, the doctor starts it. And there could be various doctors depending on if he furloughed out or whatever it was. But this copyist here on this form is the copyist from the War Department.
Right.
This transcription.
Right.
But the actual hospital registers, and it's literally the clerk for the doctor. Like right now, when I go to see the doctor, his nurse at Dr. Coe's office. His nurse takes notes on the computer. But the doctor is looking at me and doing my heart rate and listening through the stethoscope and dictating to the nurse. Well,
Right.
that's how those hospital records are done. And they're all in one hand, except for maybe the first page. And except that unless they change clerks. And so to order the hospital books themselves, I've actually had, you submit the request in the textual reading room, and the little clerk that was behind the desk said, "Oh, you don't want hospital books. You don't want these hospital books. Nobody ever orders them." Well, I also took the Advanced Military Records course at IGHR from Craig Scott when it was in Stanford University. And he said, order the hospital book. And so I did. And I looked through the ones for my guy, and that's how I found out it was syphilis. That was the chronic illness. But I was looking around, and these hospital books were all different sizes and shapes, but they were empty lined pages, bound in a book and used in that manner. So I was looking through it, other entries, and one of them said, would say if the person was released back to the unit, etc. But one of them was for a gentleman who had passed away, and it said that the body was retrieved by his brother Robert. Very unusual entry, according to Craig. But you never know what you're going to find. So I wanted to make that known, what was possible. So this is like pretty reliable, but it's still a derivative work. It's derived from those original hospital records. And when we say hospital, it could be a field hospital, a tent just behind the front line. It could be a farther back than that, where it's a little more protected, like in a house they've taken over on the battlefield somewhere. Or it could be something like an actual hospital, like this one in DC. We have pictures of all three of those kinds. So just another record group to consider. And thank you so much, Jill, for letting me know that we weren't getting the story right. You couldn't see that part of the document because I'd left a comment up. Are you able, as a host, Frank, to click to view? Can you click on one of the comments from the YouTube side and make it go live? So if that happens again, and I'm droning on like I do, you're more than welcome to dismiss it by clicking. I don't think Jill has that authority, because not that I'm picking on you, but StreamYard only permits me to have X number of people, or else I have to pay like $200 a month. And I'm keeping the ones I have. You guys can't. Frank, you can never leave me. Randy can never leave me. All right. So now let's see what those comments were from the YouTube side. Okay. So hi. Oh, it's good to see you, Deneen. Most of my Rev War ancestors were red flagged by the DAR. So can we expound on that? Does anybody else on the panel know what that means? I can speak to it. So initially, when the Daughters of the American Revolution, DAR, originated, people were talking about their grandpa or their great grandpa that may have lived. They may know that person because they were long lived. And so the rules for submitting were not as stringent. So if they're red flagged, it doesn't mean that they didn't serve. It meant that it was an ancestor that people kept building on, where those last few generations, that his generation and his proof of service was more family tradition than the kind of documents that we were just looking at. So it just means that you need to rework that portion of it. So they weren't necessarily bad. But on the other hand, we know how families could embellish their family history a bit. Certainly not on that topic, but I digress. Anyway, thank you, Deneen, for that. Okay, let's see. So you're working on your coffin line. Oh, no, that's a different topic. I'm trying to keep with the military here. Who is this? Oh, Sherry's saying her husband's second great uncle passed on a hospital ship at Vicksburg, Mississippi during the Civil War. You know, a lot happened during the Civil War in the United States. They came up with a way to evacuate people who were injured at the front line. They'd move them back, and they could put them in these kind of a hospital wagon where their cot could be layered 3 at a time on each side, and then it would be pulled by a horse to the more distant hospital, or in this case, to a hospital ship. Mr. Myrt will probably know the name of that ship. Yes, Frank.
My grandfather on my father's side actually had luck in being unlucky because he fought on the French front and got struck by a grenade in the face.
Oh.
It blew off a little part of his nose, so little that we almost don't notice it as kids. But he got lucky enough to go into the hospital, while all of his comrades fell in the battles afterward. He was the only one that survived.
Oh, you know, that's really hard. And in the case, so this is World War II.
That was World War II.
Yeah, and in that ancestor William Henry Phillips case, everybody in his unit and 19th Indiana and several different like Company K, etc., they were all from the same county. So when you're talking about everybody in your unit passing away, it could be that they actually knew each other before the war. You just don't know.
Yep.
A terrible thing.
Wouldn't it be hard though to? Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Ellen,
I was just going to say,
Jill.
wouldn't it be hard to wonder how that person felt, being that they were the only one that survived? You go, why?
Yeah,
me?
that must be enormously hard, because after he recovered, he got back enlisted and fought on the East Front, not the West Front, and got then captured.
Interesting.
Yeah, survivor's guilt.
Yep.
I know that Cousin Russ had friends that had a bit of that. If he even mentioned that word, Cousin Russ didn't talk about his military service very much. And he was on a Coast Guard cutter that brought mail up the river and took packets of mail back out, and something about fuel. But if he used a term like Agent Orange, it was like the tip of the iceberg compared to what he was actually doing to help people. But survivor guilt was another one of those phrases where he worked with people. Okay, Ellen or Jill.
Well, I just wanted to share a little bit about hospitals. I actually did a fair amount of research about Civil War hospitals, if we have time and if you're willing to hear that. Before the Civil War, there was basically 4 or 5 guys who were the medical department for the United States. They had no system. They had nothing. There was no kind of set up for contingencies at all. And so what's interesting about some of the innovations that you were talking about, Myrt, was the amount of innovations that there were all of a sudden. So we had the Child's Hospital down in New Orleans was one that was a real hospital, and that was the one who got hit by Katrina so bad. However, there were no hospitals in Washington, D.C. before the war. There were 45 hospitals during the war. And these hospitals were a long series of long tents, because they still felt that, draft and that sort of thing was a good way to keep disease away. And so they were still long tents, and they were everywhere. There's actually a map of these 45. But some of the innovations included, as you said, ambulance services. But ambulance services grew out of the fact that they had field hospitals, which were, for the first time, they would rescue a person off the field and amputate their leg or whatever immediately. Part of that, the reason why that happened, was because no longer could families sit on the hill, watch the battle go on below, and then go rescue their family member, because the family members were from Minnesota and Iowa and all that sort of thing, on the eastern seaboard area. So they no longer had families who they were rescuing their family member. So they had to develop this series of hospitals, from field hospitals to intermediate to like Washington, D.C. So it was very interesting. And then you had Dorothea Dix starting the nursing corps at the request of her older brother, who was a general. And she started the nursing corps, and she only wanted plain women over the age of 35, not married, because she didn't want any distractions for the doctors. Well, Clara Barton thought that was just not going to be what her deal was. She went out into the field, and she actually helped rescue some of those people there, and then had a long history that's even more amazing. But the whole hospital idea and the whole medical during wartime changed like just overnight. And then they had trains that were set up exactly the way you described the wagons, this 3-high business. They had trains for the infirm that would take them back west so that they could get home and get cared for at home. So it was just an amazing kind of a situation that the pressure, needs breeds innovation kind of thing, where they just developed the whole kind of system of medical care during wartime.
It is phenomenal how you're describing this, because we think of hospitals as just a normal everyday thing. You pass hospitals.
Right.
And we know about Vietnam, and they came in with the helicopters, the Hueys, and put them on there and carried them away and things like that to safety. And so that's our 20th and 21st century blinders that we have on that term presentism comes in.
Right.
And it is very important for us to discuss these things, to get that understanding of what the actual experience was for our ancestors.
And the hospitals that even existed during that time before the Civil War were only for indigent women who were giving birth and orphan children. So the Catholic orders were primarily the nurses. So the whole profession of nursing also evolved out of the Civil War era.
Wow. Very intriguing to hear this, and to make these distinctions. I can make the distinction about, you mentioned the fresh air coming through, keep the windows open, things like that. They didn't have penicillin. Penicillin had been invented way earlier, but it was in not way earlier than the Civil War, I think. But my dad said they really started using it in World War II. So think about started using it.
Right.
And that doesn't mean they had it and it was always there in World War II. And think about all the World War I guys, or Spanish, or this or that, or whatever, or somebody being wounded in 1917 in Iraq, and you can't airlift somebody out.
Right.
Gosh. All right, let's see what we've got. They used trains to move injured away from the front during the wars. And I always think of Prince Albert as being an influence in England for getting your train system going. That was pretty innovative thinking. And now we know, I was shocked when I went to Germany and I said, I have to rent a car because I don't want to be beholden to train schedules, till I realized that Rick Steves actually knew what he was talking about when he said, you have such a great network of trains that it's a non-issue. So I could have saved all that money and stayed another week or two. But anyway, I don't know. All right. So let's see. Okay. Anything else here? Okay.
Yeah, right. Above that, Gwyn had a comment.
Okay, so if you'd star them, and also,
Yeah, I did.
Okay, they changed it, and I can't see what's starred. Okay, there we are. Had two brothers who were Civil War surgeons. Interesting Civil War background, Jill. Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you. And also, I think somebody put a link up there. Hillary, could you put that network rail in the private chat? Because I can't click on the thing in the YouTube side.
Yeah, will do. Yeah.
Thank you.
I've just put one about ambulance. I've just put one about ambulance trains because they did have ambulance trains. So I'll put those both in there. Put them both in for you.
All right. You're supposed to be resting. But we're having a pretty good discussion, more so than we've had in the past, about the support for these soldiers at various time periods. Okay, so I'm going to pull up this from the railway to show what that's like, and I will share my screen. There we go. Ambulance trains showing, and this happens to be during the First World War, but that is a result of what Jill shared with us. That this idea of keep them on their stretcher with what they need. They even had hooks in the ceiling, so if they were on fluids or something, they could keep it up high so that it would drain into the body as a patient would. I think it's better to say patient. Body implies something else. But anyway, thank you for that. And then you had
I've been to that railway museum and actually seen an ambulance train set up, because I don't think they've got one at the moment, but they have previously had a thing about the ambulance trains that they did. So I knew about it from being there.
Okay, and so then here's the other link that Hillary's sharing with us. And we have, wow. So this is the first wave of the children. That's for evacuation. I remember seeing this. I can't imagine having to send my children away because our home is going to get bombed and I want my children to live. But and they didn't just go to the north of England. They went to Canada, etc. Wow. Okay. What a time we've had. It's easy for us to sit in the comfort of our heated homes or air-conditioned homes if you're in the Southern Hemisphere and watching this. It is not an easy thing to talk about the privations of war. And I think that you notice, Frank's got this German accent, and it's important for me to have you know that I recognize both sides have difficulty. War is just horrible. Families are split up. People are injured. Some of them to the point that the grandchildren do definitely notice and shy away from that injury that a grandfather may have endured. Okay, Valerie is saying she would like to honor her mom, even though she was not a soldier. She was a Maine secretary at the local selective service draft board in Waverly, Iowa. She had to process the detainees in the county once they turned 18. Oh yeah, the draft cards. And there were several different kinds of draft cards calling for the old men's draft. I think World War II that had 3 different drafts? Cousin Russ is rolling over in his grave because he knows this. Yeah, World War I. Thank you very much, Jill. It takes a village here. Yeah, the work that was done on the home front during the U.S. Civil War, the Sanitation Committee had a big influence, and women would literally take their petticoats and make bandages to roll up, like make a big roll, and they would be used for compression, etc. Yeah, look up Sanitation Committee. Search for that if you are doing U.S. Civil War ancestry, military. Okay. I want to clear up something for a minute, and then we're going to go to, have I missed Randy? I'm trying to think. No, he wants to talk about something else. Okay, we're good. I want to clear up something. A couple of weeks ago, I did a mini Myrt where for the first time, whole genome sequencing was being offered. It was being offered by MyHeritage. And I did that about 45 minutes after the announcement went out. And in that 45 minutes, it didn't take me long to set up the StreamYard to YouTube, but I was trying to see what people were saying about it. And people in the know in the world of DNA for genealogy. And the main difference that they saw, because I'm like, great, it's only going to be $35. And they're saying, hold off. This whole genome sequencing is only 2 passes. And the kind of whole genome sequencing that we think of to find everything about you as an individual has to be 30 passes back and forth. So that went out, and then just this past week, and I can't even find the email, so I'm going to have to explain this, but I've been getting a lot of email from people, my followers, saying, well, now FTDNA is doing it, but I can't find it on their website, and it's $395. And here's the answer to why it's not on the FTDNA website. It's the lab that processes for FTDNA that is independently offering a 30-pass whole genome sequencing package for $395. But it cannot give you the link to the lab. I remembered the problem during the green room, and I couldn't go get the link. There just wasn't enough time. That's part of why we started a minute or 2 late. So that's one thing to clear up about whole genome sequencing. And I just can't recall the name of their lab. I think it starts with an S. Okay. All right. Let's see what else we've got on the docket. Randy, what would you like to talk about today?
I put a link to my blog post that I post every Veterans Day about heroes. Amazingly, everyone on that list survived. Survived the war anyway. So I think that's rather amazing. There were brothers of ancestors who didn't, but starting with my father was in the U.S. Navy, And my grandfather served in the PX in San Diego in World War I as a Marine Reserve. And I only have one Civil War soldier, Isaac Seaver.
Mm-hmm. I'm behind you. There's your World War II.
Right.
Your dad. Look at
USS
those
Help,
guys.
mailman 3rd class. Yeah.
Okay.
And Lyle,
Yes.
the year that he got married,
Yeah.
but he never left
We've
town.
We've
Lucky.
seen him.
Yeah. And that's my union case for Isaac and Lucretia Smith Seaver,
Mm-hmm.
1864 or so.
And served in the Union Army, a blacksmith, and that's something that changed a great deal after World War II. We weren't seeing horses as part of the battle. We weren't seeing a cavalry. Mr. Myrt's going, Mr. Myrt, you need to be on the panel. Type something in. He would know the exact time period that pretty much has we quit using horses. They certainly didn't take them to Vietnam. Oh, you have 1812 people.
I have a few, and I have 22, I think, from the Revolutionary War. And so I have links to all of them there. So I'll post that again tomorrow morning.
Okay.
I think I've added it since then.
That's.
But with 3/4 of my father's ancestry in Massachusetts or in New England. Not unexpected there. And I got, 5, 6 that have a pension file too.
Yeah, I see this. So this is incredible. I think that people can study their country and their country's participation in various wars by going to Family Search, looking at military records for that country in question, and then juxtapose it with a list of ancestors that would be eligible for military service at that time, and then decide to dive deep and see if they are in fact showing up in military records that have since survived, hopefully, and not lost. So thank you, Randy. I don't know why I overlooked your part today. Thank you for being patient with me. Do you have blue eyes like your dad?
Yep.
Wow. Those are gorgeous blue eyes. Very handsome fellow. Thank you for sharing the link. Mr. Myrt, can you please bring me some batteries for my mouse? It's starting to act up. Okay, so a couple more comments from the community. And then we'll wrap up and talk about a few other things. Okay, so Sean says, my maternal grandfather served aboard the USS Curtis during the Pearl Harbor attack, and he has a commendation letter from Admiral Nimitz for his service there. That would be very interesting, Sean. That would be very interesting to read what he did on that fateful December 7th day. And Sherry says, my husband's paternal grandfather was gassed during World War I. I'm driving my camera nuts, apparently. He was putting a gas mask on the horses in his charge when one reared up and knocked his mask off. I hadn't thought about that. Wow. And Lynn says, oh, good. I'm so glad you guys are sharing this. Great-grandfather was a Civil War prisoner. Before his capture, he had a forefinger shot off. I have a photo from later years in which his hand is on his wife's shoulder, and it's very obvious. And Cindy, hi, Cindy, Second great grand uncle Norris Johns was killed in the Civil War Battle of Stone River at Murfreesboro. 17 years old. Thank you, sweetie. Okay, we have the hand of Mr. Myrt. I don't know if it's AA or not. It might be AAA, if you could bring that also. All right. Hillary, you said this. So tell me about this, Hillary.
Yeah. I was doing some work on WikiTree. I can't remember whether this was somebody that was a relative, or whether it was just somebody that happened to live in the county where I was doing some work.
Mm-hmm.
But they it tended to evacuate people out of the cities, because obviously there was all the big a lot of people there, and they'd go to the countryside. And I came across these people that were civilians that had died as a result of a bomb hitting a farm, which was out in the countryside. But they actually set up a lot of decoy things in the countryside to try and confuse the people, the bombers that were coming over, so that they would bomb somewhere which was a field rather than bomb the city where there were a lot of people that would have been killed. I mean, the city got a lot of hits anyway, because I've seen the maps of where all the bombs hit and everything in the city. But obviously they've moved out to the countryside thinking they'd be safer, and they weren't. So it did happen.
Yeah. Frank has a question for you. Were the decoys balloon tanks? Have you heard of those blown up balloon tanks?
They had. I know they did put barrage balloons to stop. That was to do with how low they could fly and whatever, and that. But I don't know. They must have set something up. I don't know. But I did have information about it, and it's just that it tended to. I was thinking, well, people thought they were safe somewhere, and then I came across this, and it was it was surprising, because you'd have thought it would have been some people in the city that would have been more likely to have been involved when there was bombs dropped.
Yeah, using decoys to protect the troops was a strategy I've heard about. The balloon tanks, but I hadn't heard about the deceased civilians from a city being moved for that purpose. Wow.
They died there, and I found all the information about they were people that were all related to each other, and that they were in that farm, and nobody survived. I don't think anybody survived, so it was a shame, because you're trying to find all the details out about things. It's
Yeah. Let's see. This is a long one. I'm not sure how much is going to show up. Andrew, I'm Andrew. His great-grandfather was killed in a train accident in France on his way home from World War I. The train stopped, but the carriage behind him had heavy war machinery in it. Oh, the Initiaforce. Oh, carried on going and crushed him. That's terrible. And then the world's greatest neighbor, Maria, said she went to an archive in Guam to find information about a great uncle who was taken captive by the Japanese in World War II. I guess what Maria is pointing out is that not everything on military service is at the National Archives. And that's quite true for the muster rolls for the 31st Iowa for Mr. Myrt's ancestor are kept, those morning reports, mustering in every day, or the showing up every day reports that I mentioned earlier. They're at the state archives. And in Iowa, it's called the Historical Society of Iowa. It's not called the State Library of Iowa. We tend to think of historical societies as not being associated with government, but it's different. That surprised me when I went there and pulled up the files. Okay. Yes. Jill, I think one of the times when you were still teaching and not here, we mentioned that over the Boeing plants, which built the airplanes, we were very afraid, for instance, that the Japanese were going to come and actually bomb the west coast of the United States. And Boeing, Seattle, Boeing Field in Seattle was a prime target. And so they literally built a canopy above it and painted a decoy village with shadows and stuff. Interesting. Yeah. And Randy, you said this on the YouTube side. Talk to me.
I said what?
No, sorry, that probably was me. Yep.
Oh,
that
okay.
was me.
So tell me, Frank. Okay, they both have rights to print to type over there. Yeah. From this point.
In the city right next to mine in Königs Wusterhausen, they actually built a whole village to decoy bunkers onto it. Not just one, but I think 5 to 8, if I remember correctly.
Something in that range, yeah.
I was at 2 of them. After World War II, they tried to blow up one. They failed miserably because they simply lifted up the staircase and turned it by 90 degrees and buried it again in the ground. Just the staircase. Nothing more was damaged of the whole bunker.
Yeah. Claire is saying, and remember that Claire used to work as a paid employee of what is now called the Family Search Library in Salt Lake City, Utah. Used to be called the Family History Library. World War I Myrt record collection at Family Search from the National Archives is, because they destroyed in World War II, the burnt collection has only 13% left. And Tony Proctor, our guy in Ireland, says, I recall a World War II story where a wooden fake aircraft in England was bombed with wooden bombs by German with a sense of humor. Oh my gosh. These are parts of military experiences I haven't heard of. So thank you for that. Oh my golly. So we've spent almost our entire morning talking about a very worthy topic, and with one little interjection about AI. And if I could just bring to your attention and switch gears for a minute and talk to you about 2 more AI things. I wrote to Steve Little and asked for his write-up, having heard that the Coalition for Responsible AI Use in Genealogy with regard to historical images was a topic of interest, and that a new standard had been set. Right. And so he wrote a post about it. And then I will also share my link with everybody on the YouTube side and share my screen. So this is Steve Little's article about the Coalition's new statement on AI and historical images matter. He showed, first of all, what the tools actually do. This was the original, and this was a chat, was GPT-4o reconstruction of the photo of his grandfather. And he didn't call it a repair or restore. He doesn't even like that, but he probably knew his grandpa. Anyway, Gemini has Nano Banana, and they started doing some incredibly interesting work. And the Coalition for Responsible AI in Genealogy, led by all kinds of experts, including him, have issued a specific statement that, and here's the link to the exact item on their website, but it is that the 3 core recommendations are that we always label modified images on the image. You can open a box below it so that we can still see the uniform. Always cite the original source and use it as an illustration, not evidence. Those are the 3 core recommendations. So apparently, I'm really pleased to hear about the coalition's recommendations. Let me give you that other link, the actual Coalition for Responsible Citizen use of historical records and possibly improving them. And it doesn't have to be an image of a person. It could be an image of a document that we're talking about. Let me put this
I
in
think
here.
the important thing about the images, Myrt, is that they're so close, but they're not quite. And there are differences in the fabrication of it. And as a consequence, we're going to see 50 years from now confusion about which is the right one, or that we're going to start accepting things that aren't real as real. And so it's really is important to label these, particularly these formal shots of images that are colorized or gone through ChatGPT to be doing something else. Because you look even at the picture that Steve has in his post, it's different. His face is narrower on the fabrication. It's not the same. So
let me pull that back up. Yeah, let me pull that back up. And we'll zoom in a little bit so that you can, the other guy,
it's just enough different.
Yep.
You know, it's just enough different. And so we have to be very careful that the unknowledgeable or unwearing eye is going to say they're just exactly the same, but they are not the same photo.
Yeah. So what you do is take it into your photo editing software, and where you get the little handles on all 4 sides, pull it down and make a text box and cite it and clearly label it as a ChatGPT 4 or whatever you're using, quote, reconstruction. And I have always felt that way when people would take a photo. Like I have one where part of the photo has chipped away from the surface, and because they crackle. And so I don't know if that person really did miss an ear. I have a person that had facial cancer. And was this another type of cancer? That's what brought it to my attention. It wasn't the same person that had the cancer of the cheek whose photo survived. It was somebody in the 20th century, but early 20th century, but the photo was damaged. And I've always wanted to keep the same photo, keep the original. Even brightening it up is problematic. So, and as you say, colorizing, it's the slimming down is a very good point. Let's see. Yeah, just imagine somebody would use the AI of the picture for facial analysis. Yeah, and I've heard that ICE has a database of our images. We're doing so much 1984 here in the US. I'm moving. And that they were taking their phone on their camera with the software for facial recognition and putting it in the face of somebody that they're planning to arrest. I feel like I'm in a third world country. I'm sorry, I'm being political and I'm supposed to be cheerful, but it's a little hard in the face of things going on of late. So we've had quite a morning. I think it's time to go. I thank all of you for participating. Those of you who are attending live and can interact with us, you've added so much in the way of extra information. First in honoring some of your ancestors, but also, you know, who knew about the fake city of Seattle, you know, and made it look like it was just a suburb over Boeing Field. Great discussion. Thank you to the panelists for all that you bring to the table. Hillary and I are going to be meeting in a different YouTube setup. It's over there already. We will be doing our book club in 45 minutes. So I really should say there's nothing left to say, but I'm Dear Myrtle, a very grateful Dear Myrtle. You guys kept me in line. Not so retired friend in genealogy. Happy family tree climbing, everybody. That's a wrap.